in the late 70s, New York City, Manhattan, Lower East Side, back then called Alphabet City. Volatile, lawless, dangerous area. At night, I was walking alone. The next morning, I would depart from the city and be on my way to United States Navy boot camp. As all men know, any young man prepared to depart tomorrow morning to military boot camp is entitled right now, the night before, to get laid. Just as he is entitled to get laid the night of his boot camp graduation. So, I was determined on this specific night to get laid, no matter what it took to get the job done. On a very dark street in a very abandoned block of buildings. I walked alone. Approaching me, I realized at about the halfway point of my trek from one end of the block to the other, a dark form approached. As it neared, came to my awareness that it was the form of a young, very dark-skinned female human being. I was now going to get laid. As we were approaching about 3 feet from each other, and most likely, if I did nothing about it, just going to pass by one another, I stopped and said, tomorrow morning, I'd leave the city for military boot camp. And right now, I deserve to get laid with you. She agreed. She said, I have only one requirement for that to happen. You must buy me a bag of dope, meaning heroin, in that neighborhood. There were many places to make such a purchase. A bag cost $10. I had the $10. I agreed. We went to the next block over and made the purchase and returned, upon her recommendation, to the block on which we had met just moments before. We entered one of the dark, abandoned buildings. It had no front door. It was quite crumbling. It was damp inside. We carefully went up the steps to the second floor, circled around on the second floor hallway to the steps, up to the third floor. And we ascended them, 6 floors in all. The further up we ascended, the more litter was strewn, but we could not see it. We could just feel it and hear it under our feet. We could not see anything. It was completely black dark. At each step upwards, we had to make sure that where we were about to place our feet actually involved a step, not just a hole where a step slab had once been. There were a few such places which we avoided carefully. When we reached the top floor, the 6th, we then circled around one more time to the steps, ascending to the door, a small landing at the top, and the door that would open to the roof. These steps, this final ascent, were utterly strewn with the obvious sound of broken glass, and other dangerous bits of trash. Perhaps even discarded syringes from junkies. Like her. And apparently she knew this building. She selected it. Got up on the landing, just inside the roof door. I took off her pants. I pulled mine down. I took off her panties. I have no idea what the condition of her genitals was, I had no condom. I was going to get laid, no matter what it took to do so. She laid down on that landing on the glass and all the other debris with her head facing the steps back down to the 6th floor. And her feet apart, flat against the wall, beside the roof door. I climbed in between her legs and proceeded to get laid. The more I thrust, the further from the wall beside the roof door our bodies shuffled. With each thrust and shuffle, broken glass ground. The sound of it beneath our bodies. And the further her head hung over the top step, until at last we both were no longer on that landing inside the roof door, but were slowly sliding down the steps head first, with her upside down doing so. Just at my climactic moment, I heard a voice just below us say the word bang. I lifted my head and looked on down the steps ahead of me. There was a light. I had not noticed it up here. At the bottom of the steps, just several feet beyond the bottom step, an apartment door was now open and a light shone out. And there was a young boy, approximately 4 years old, looking up at us with a toy gun pointed straight at my face. And he said it again. Bang! And then a woman's voice from inside said, "Get back in here right now and close that door." Which the young boy did. The young lady and I arose carefully, crept to the bottom of the steps, pulled ourselves together with respect to our clothing, and left the building. The following morning, I went to boot camp, having got laid.